5 guys for 3 jobs, or maybe 3 guys for 1 job. This time it seems like there are like 8 or 9 for X number of jobs, depending who has the best training camp.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's been set up that way. I think, Sweens has had a goal about drafting and developing, building around the core and then adding to it. I think some of the players that he's drafted in Fergie over the last number of years, you're going to start seeing them get ready to challenge for spots. We saw it last year. Brennan Carlo came in, did a good job. McAvoy late. And then, Danton Heining got a look. And there's a few more younger guys, as you say, up front. We'll stick with that. With DeBrusque, who had a good year in Providence. And some young kids, JFK, Zanishin, that were first and second round picks. Bjork, who was a later pick, had a real good college career. So there's a number of guys that, and I've probably left out the Corrales, who come in and did a great
Sean
job.
Corrale had a heroic night in Ottawa.
Frank Vetrano, who's healthy and ready to go from last year. He got a late start, and when you get injured like that, you're always playing catch up. So there's a number of good young players that are going to come in and play for us. And you can't play them all, but some of them are definitely going to play. And I didn't even put Noel in that group who's wandering around here. So although I guess he's a little older than those guys age-wise, but career-wise. So it's nice. I think it's infectious. The old guys would tell you that when the young guys come in and are able to play. That's the biggest question: can they play or not? We'll find out.
Don Sweeney did what was a no-brainer, which was to sign you as the full-time Bruins head coach shortly after that tremendous run to make the playoffs. Did you find yourself...
And I appreciate that he did that.
Well, we all do. Especially we broadcasters who look forward to the playoffs, and we had missed a couple of times in a row. So, do you find yourself in the middle of summers sort of saying, well, what if I tried this guy with this guy, and thinking about the possibilities and how individuals are going to fit into what we anticipate will be a system with a couple of new looks, a couple of tweaks?
Yeah, and I think it's inherent for someone in my career path that spent a lot of time in the American League, because players are coming and going. So you're always tinkering with lines you're used to. It's part of your DNA. So, and then this summer with the fact that we left a few spots available for competition. So yes, I mean, obviously, if you could pencil in, your 4 solid lines and your 6D, some coaches would prefer that and just worry about other things all summer. But I think that's just the nature of the business now, with the salary cap and more younger players coming in and not able to sign all the players you want to, maybe if they are a little bit older. So I think it's normal. I think that's what coaches do. They're always tinkering in their mind, and sometimes you got some availability to do a little more than others. This is one of those years we do have some room to move some pieces around.
All the guys with whom we've spoken during this Fan Fest tour have said that they really feel a connection with you personally as well as professionally, and part of that comes from the players who played for you in Providence when you were head coach here. How important is it in the modern NHL when you're going to have that kind of player turnover, and you're going to have a core of players, usually veterans, who you hope are the stable part of your team, but the other cast of characters is going to change depending on situation, who's playing well, who's not, injuries, etc. How important is it for you really to have a handle not only what they can do skill-wise, but also what's going on in their heads and how they're going to handle that instability?
Well, I think it's a different generation. Obviously, years ago, the players and coaches had, it's like, do as I say and jump how high, the old saying. And I grew up as a player like that, where coaches, that was the relationship. And you'd hope at some point you could, down the road be friends with them. And whereas now I think that happens a lot quicker. I think the players are expected, they're recruited at a younger age by agents and coaches alike, so they're used to having a relationship with the boss, so to speak. So they expect that, and it's just the way it is nowadays. And I think it's fine. I mean, I'd like to be friends with every one of the players. You got to earn their respect. That's first, and they do the same. But if you could have a friendship without that crossing the line of the demands of the job, that's ideal. And it takes a while to do that. But I thought last year there was some of that, and just from some of the players over the year, like an Adam McQuaid. I mean, I love the guy. I coached him here. He's a great guy, great team guy, and I'll always, hopefully have a level of a friendship with the guy no matter what happens. Kevin Miller, I can go down the line with some of the guys that have come through here. And some of the younger guys, if you can build that, I think it just makes it easier to do their job when you know you're all going in it together. I think that's how I felt with the group at the end of the year.
Let's talk about a couple of the young defensemen. Brandon Carlo had a marvelous season, I thought, and it was so too bad that he got the concussion in the final regular season game against Washington because he didn't get exposed to the playoffs. Charlie McAvoy, on the other hand, on his world tour of hockey, playing for, I think it was 4 different teams over the course of the season, got dumped right into the thick of it and at least held his own, probably more than that. Those 2 guys have a lot of Bruins fans really excited, and I would imagine you too.
Well, yeah, for obvious reasons. I mean, you saw it last year. It's not an easy position to break into the National Hockey League and play, first of all, and then to be able to play and play well. Brandon went through some growing pains like every player does at that age, and Charlie will go through his this year. And we're expecting him to step in and play in the lineup. He'll have to earn that right at training camp, but I mean, you watch him last year, nothing bothered him, no matter what level he played at. And that's a big jump for players. They get around 20,000 people. You're around men. You're around 30-year-old guys with beards that want to take your head off of the ice, and it's a little bit different animal than junior or college, and then or guys in your own room. A lot of young players come in the room and they see Bergie, they see Z, and they're a little intimidated by their own teammates, never mind the others. So a lot of that Charlie just walked into and can put aside and play. And that's a gift and a talent. I mean, he has it. Brandon was able to, and now we're looking for the next guy to do that more up front, I would say, this year. I'm not going to rule out defenseman, Jack, because, there's Lozon was a young kid. There's Zaboral coming in. There's Grizz. There's O'Gara. So, but up front, we've, created some competition with whether it's Bjork, DeBrus, and Ish, we're not sure. So, that's there for the taking for those guys. It is exciting, and I hope that the fans were excited watching those players play. We can incorporate a few more.
As long as we're doing something informal here, I can sort of go outside the box with you. For a while, I've been in favor of the NHL looking into 3 points for a regulation win.
Are you going to get me in trouble, Jeff?
No, you can blame it all on me. But as you were painfully aware, down the stretch, there's nothing more frustrating than chasing a playoff spot and 2 teams ahead of you are playing each other, and it becomes a 3-point game, and then you win your game even handily. So your team has played great, and you pick up 1 point on one team. If it's 3 points and 0 points for a regulation win, and 3 points and 0 points for an overtime win. So in other words, if you win it on a hockey goal, it's 3-0, and it's 2-1 for a shootout win. Isn't that a fair way to distribute points?
I think there's an argument for both sides. If you take care of business early in the year and you're not worried about chasing spots late in the year, that's one way to do it. I think in Europe they've gone that route. There's 3 points for regulation victory, so there's something to be said for that. I think the traditionalists might have an issue with now breaking records for points in the season. So I think you can always make an argument that does take away from the game. By the same token, I'm okay with the setup now. It's the position you put yourself in at the end, and I think you just gotta try to get those wins early and often as much as possible, so you can avoid that. But you know what? I'll put it in the suggestion box. Sign my name to it. If it works, I'm easy. I just coach hockey players. If they change the rules, you adapt. That's the way it goes.
This is the hand I've been dealt. This is what I'm going to do with it. If we can circle back to Charlie McAvoy for a moment. As an observer from afar, and some of our announced positions are pretty far, I was astounded at how well he goes through his checklist of options. That he seems to be aware of 3 or 4 possibilities of what he can do with the puck before it comes to him. Can you teach that awareness? Is that something he picked up, or is that innate and it just developed?
No, it's 90% the player. That's a talent. I think as coaches, where you're teaching that part of it is more about the options that he's looking at. Puck support. If a player has the puck, all 4 guys in the ice should be at some level of an option, like an A, B, C, and D, and no different than a quarterback in football. So I think that's where the coaching comes in. And our part is when the guy does have the puck, let's make sure we're all presenting ourselves to be good options. And it's up to the player then to make the right decision. And he's just very good at it. And he generally finds the one in the middle of the ice, the guy who wants the puck with his head up and gets in a good position, not in a vulnerable spot. And again, it's a gift. I came down to Providence to watch him and looked at Donnie after about 4 of his shifts. He did it every shift. It's like, wow, we got something here, because that is tough to teach. So God bless him, and he can do it. Not everybody can, and the more guys you have like that, the forwards will love them. And they're getting pucks in good spots.
Does anybody want to ask a question of the Bruins head coach?
So my question is, last time we won the Stanley Cup, it seemed like people were afraid to come into Boston because we were a big physical team. Do you think we're going to try to get back to that? Because I feel like a lot of teams recently have just, we're not as physical as we used to be, and I feel like we have the talent to do that.
But I think where that mentality comes in is, what are you drafting? If you're drafting skill and developing skill, then I think that's the direction the team will end up going. That's a bigger vision. The way the game's going, and I don't disagree with you, they absolutely won the Cup that way, and I think LA won the Cup by being big and heavy. I think Pittsburgh won it by being quick. I think Chicago won it by being quick. So which way do you want to go? The pendulum, I think, in the NHL, the National Hockey League, is swinging towards skill and speed. So you're going to see less of that size and brawn just because of that. But you are correct, that's how they won in 2011. And I think it's a product of what you have on the ice, and we're not going to just put big, heavy guys in there if they can't keep up. They can, like Milan Lucic, good example, big, heavy guy. Horton, those guys were big and could skate and score. They're not easy to find. But we're going to do our best to win the way we feel best, and we can be a blend. That's ideal. If we can be fast and physical when need be and stand up for ourselves, I think we still have the character guys that you're referencing, the Millers and the McQuaids and the Chars that can handle that part of the game. You just need the speed to be able to keep up with the rest of the league.
When you first became the Bruins coach, you were playing the bumper, and you got away from that. Are you going to go back to that?
Playing what, sorry?
Playing the bumper.
And on the power play?
No, playing on the 5-on-5 too.
Well, I'm not 100% sure what you mean. When we use the term bumper, it's more or less our guy in the middle of the ice in the power play, and we've stuck with that. I thought our power play was good. So I guess we're going to stick with, we tried to score more. When I first took over, be more aggressive offensively without losing our defensive foundation, and that's what we're going to continue to build on. I think that's why we've talked about some of these young players being able to help us.
I don't have a question, I just have a statement. I wanted to let you know that you made the team a lot better. Wow.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Right guy at the right time for the right team. Here, step right up.
Are you going to sign Pasternak?
I hope so. I certainly do. But again, that's above my pay grade. I just coach the players that are out there. We want them back, trust me. And this is the business part of the game that can be difficult at times. But hopefully we're all optimistic it'll get done.
Bruce, do you think you had enough time last year to hit your stride, or do we still have something to see from you this year?
Well, I mean, we're all, what every coach will tell you wants to get better every year. So clearly, I believe that. I thought we did a good job, and then we're going into the playoffs in a good note. Had some injuries, and I think it affected us, unfortunately. And so we got to get better, and we will continue to do that, but build off the good things we did.
I know it's still early, but what would you consider our top 4 defensemen?
Our top 4? Brent Burns just asked me a question here in the front row.
I hope he didn't bring his snakes.
I like good beer. Our top 4, well, Zdeno Chara is certainly in it. Torrey Krug's certainly in it. If Chara plays with Carlo, which he certainly did last year, at times he played with McAvoy too when Carlo was hurt, so we're going to sort that out. And then Torrey's partner was Adam McQuaid for a long time. I think, not to get away from what you're asking me, I think those 4 players, but I also believe Kevin Miller had a very good playoff for us, is only going to get better. So I like our whole 6, and we got an unknown in Postman, who we signed from another team, so we'll have to take a look at how he plays out. But I guess, like I said, I'm skating around your question a little bit because I don't want to pigeonhole guys, but Krug and Chara on the left side. The right side will be a little bit, we'll see whether it's Carlo McAvoy or Adam.
For people who were really paying attention, Kevin Miller's game changed after you became the head